What's up everyone, welcome back. Earlier today, we got the annual ESPN appearance from Magic Johnson, and well, he did not hold back on the Lakers. He talked about everything from their underwhelming performance, who the blame should be put on for this season, what their team might look like next season, about LeBron, Anthony Davis, and Russ, and much more. We are going to talk about all of that in today's video, and make an effort to make sense out of all of it. And we'll begin by talking about what Magic had to say about Russell Westbrook. And to be completely honest, I was actually a bit surprised to hear what he thought about his future with their team, as up until this point, he had been very open about not being a fan of Russ on their team. He even said about a month ago that the Westbrook trade could go down as the worst trade in Laker history, which is a pretty big statement to make. However, following those comments, he began pushing Laker fans to be more supportive of Russ, and today, he even said that Westbrook should be brought back. And I guarantee that will be the headline of a lot of articles put out in the upcoming days, but in reality, he only believes that they should bring him back for one primary reason. With that being from the fact that they would likely have to give up an asset to get rid of him, and considering that they already gave up a lot to acquire him, he does not believe they should give up even more to get rid of him. We have already talked a lot about this on my channel before, so you probably already know my thoughts on it, but I do think that Magic made a good point here. It's difficult to predict what they will do with Russ this summer, but I do agree that they should not give up a lot to get rid of him. Now, they should definitely make him available and do their best to get a good offer for him, but again, they are not in a position to give up even more assets to get rid of him. They have only one tradable first round draft pick right now, and will only have two of them following the NBA draft, and they cannot afford to give them away simply to correct their mistake. Magic believes that they would need to give up at least a first round draft pick to get rid of him, which is why he thinks he will and should remain on their team for next season. He would rather keep their tradable first round draft picks and then rebuild their team around LeBron, AD, and Russ. And by rebuilding around them, he means that they should replace their role players, which you can definitely make an argument for. Having poor fitting role players around their big three was definitely one problem that they dealt with. If they can manage to get better fitting and younger players to put around them, then maybe it could work. Leading off of that though, who does Magic believe is to blame for what went wrong during this season? Well, he did not point the finger at one individual alone. Rather, he blamed a combination of people within the Laker franchise for what went wrong. Like I mentioned before, he put part of the blame on the role players put around LeBron, AD, and Russ, which you can point toward Rob Pelinka, Frank Vogel, and really their entire front office for. Additionally though, he outright blamed their players for not putting forth the effort needed to win. He talked about them playing with a lack of pride and not valuing winning like they should be. And that I can definitely agree with. I have never watched a team play with the lack of effort that they have at times, and to be honest, they should really be embarrassed about it. He pointed out their lack of accountability as well. He talked about the words that few of their players have had to say during interviews, players on their team potentially not being prepared to play, both mentally and physically, and more. Finally though, he directly put some blame on LeBron, which is very likely going to be talked about by the media for probably the next month, and I'll let you hear what he had to say.
When I think about it, the blame that he's got to take is the fact that DeRozan ended up in Chicago and not with the Lakers. He has
expand on that thought if you will.
Well, because DeRozan wanted to play for the Lakers, and when I got the call from his agent, I called the Lakers, said, hey, he wants to come home, and DeRozan could have been a Laker instead of a Bull. We could have made that deal, but when Russell and LeBron and them started talking, that's when they nixed that deal and went with Westbrook, and he became a Laker instead of DeRozan.
The Demar Derozan thing has been talked about for a while now. Laker fans have gone back and forth between blaming Rob Pelinka, LeBron, or a combination of both. But I think that Magic may have just ended that debate. He claims that he spoke to the agent of Demar Derozan and knew that Demar wanted to come to LA, but then after LeBron began talking to Westbrook, that ended the possibility of Demar Derozan becoming a Laker. Now, before you go blaming one side or the other, let's dive a little bit deeper into this one. I don't think that Magic is lying here, but I'm not sure that he is completely correct either. At this point, I don't think we can deny that LeBron pushed for them to acquire Westbrook over DeRozan, but I do have a few issues with what Magic had to say following that.
And I think with DeRozan, and then you had a chance to keep the role players, Caruso, KCP, all those guys who are our best defenders, see, they left. And that's why we were a bad defensive team. But if you sign DeRozan, you only trade Kuzma for Buddy Hield, we would be playing in the Western Conference Championship.
Given that Magic has been a general manager before, and for their team in particular, I would think that he would have a better understanding of the financial problem here. The real problem with acquiring DeMar DeRozan came down to money. In order to get him, it would have required them to complete a sign and trade. Which, if you did not know, acquiring a player through a sign and trade will then leave a team hard capped, and that would have been an issue for them with retaining their players. By completing a sign and trade for DeRozan and therefore becoming hard capped, they would not have been able to retain Caruso, and maybe not even Talen Horton-Tucker either, who they eventually ended up choosing over Caruso. It also would have made acquiring a guy like Buddy Hield very difficult, and it definitely could not have been done by only trading away Kyle Kuzma. In order for that trade to have worked financially, they would have needed to include not only Kyle Kuzma, but Montrezl Harrell or Kentavious Caldwell-Pope too. And even if they found a way to make that trade work financially, it would have made things very difficult on them during free agency. Again, they would not have been able to retain Caruso, they very likely would have needed to sign Talen Horton-Tucker to a cheaper deal, and potentially not even have been able to use their mid-level exception. And like we have heard from earlier reports, signing DeMar DeRozan to a 3-year contract might have been an issue for them, as they reportedly did not want to give him a long-term contract, which likely led their front office to being okay with LeBron wanting them to trade for Westbrook over DeMar. Given that Westbrook had a shorter-term contract compared to DeMar DeRozan, they probably felt safer financially going with him. So while I do agree that LeBron might deserve to be blamed for pushing them to acquire Russ, I don't think their front office is completely without blame either. In conclusion though, there was definitely a lot to unpack here, and everything that Magic had to say will likely be talked about for a while now. Everybody will likely have differing opinions on it, but I think we can all agree that pretty much everything that could have gone wrong this season eventually did end up going wrong. But with that will conclude my thoughts on what Magic Johnson had to say about the Lakers. And what do you guys think? What stood out to you about what Magic talked about? Let me know your thoughts by commenting down below and we can talk about it there. But before you go, I would like to invite you to join the official Discord for the channel. If you like having NBA debates and discussion with others in real time, being updated on NBA news, or even being able to chat with me, then you really should think about joining. That will do it for this video though. Big thank you to everyone who took the time to watch until the end of the video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, be sure to drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and turn on notifications to get notified right away when I drop a new video. But as always, thank you for watching and have a great day.